Thank you, Rowdy Freeman, for joining us. I know that you are familiar with the directors of Project APISM because they are commercial beekeepers. And every time this time of year, we hear about all these bee thefts, and you're the guy out there in California who's investigating these cases. So, what can you tell us about your work with bee thefts?
Yeah, so it kind of started back in 2012 when I was in our felony investigations unit and I was assigned a beehive theft case. At the time, I really didn't know anything about the beekeeping industry. The more I looked into it, the more intrigued I became. And then I realized that there really wasn't a whole lot being done for the industry in regards to hive theft. And at the same time, there also wasn't anybody in the state of California tracking hive theft from year to year. So I kind of took it upon myself and started doing that. One thing led to another, and I actually bought my first hives and found a mentor and became a beekeeper. So I've been a beekeeper myself for 10, 11 years now. I run a fair amount of hives. I run about 1,100 hives right now myself. And I've been at the sheriff's office about 19 years. I can relate to both sides of the issue from law enforcement and from the beekeeping community. So I kind of fell into this position where I helped the California State Beekeepers Association and the beekeepers throughout California, and not just in California. I get phone calls from beekeepers all over the United States who may have been a victim while they were out here for almond pollination or just have questions. I just kind of fell into that role. And when there's someone wanting information about hive theft, they generally get put in contact with me.
And are you it? Are you training more people? We would love to see more people who know how to work these cases. I'm sure you would
Yeah,
too.
so I'm definitely not a one-man show as far as the investigations themselves go. In fact, I do very little for that. I handle the ones that may occur in my own county, but in California, there's 50 some odd counties. Everyone has their own jurisdiction. Every county has their own sheriff's office. So when a theft occurs within what the specific counties, then that sheriff's office is the one that actually has jurisdiction and does the actual investigation. But I make myself available over the phone or to respond if requested to assist in any way that I can. A few years ago, I would say most ag crime detectives knew very little about hives and hive theft. And they kind of maybe just handled it like any other theft. But part of my job that I've taken on as well is traveling the state of California over the last few years with the California Department in Food and Ag and helping educate and train all the different ag departments throughout the state on the beekeeping industry, how it works, what it's all about, instructing them about hive theft and educating people on what to do and how to investigate those cases. And I've instructed at several conferences about hive theft, and I teach law enforcement officers throughout the state about hive theft and what to look for and how to investigate them.
Yeah, I'm really curious what you say, but first I want to know, since you've been tracking theft over the years, how has it changed? Is it the same every year? Is it more or less? What are the trends?
It kind of fluctuates year to year. Some years is less than others. I would say it's definitely on the up and up, increasing. There's usually several hundred each year on a low year. We've seen, before last year, I think the highest was 1,700 in a single year. Last year was our biggest year yet, which was almost 2,300 hives, which is a fairly large amount of hives to be stolen in a very small window of time.
How many cases was that?
I don't have that number in front of me. I can tell you that, but I don't have it in front of me. Um,
But it wasn't just one. I mean, that's a whole
no,
bunch.
no, it was
Okay.
maybe a dozen or more.
Okay.
And then this year, started off slow, but we're increasing. We're about a little over 1,200 hives so far this year. I didn't start receiving reports until the end of January, 1st of June, and then over the last couple of weeks, there's been numerous.
And is there a typical bee heist? Like, do they look the same? Are there certain targets or ways that is predictable that it's going to look or?
For a while, it was unmarked hives in easily accessible locations out in a rural area where it's dark and no one's around, somewhere that they could get in and out real quick, load up 100 hives in 10 minutes and be gone. Now it's evolved a little bit, whereas they don't necessarily care if the hives are branded or not, because they're going to steal them, they're going to alter the brands one way or another, repaint them, put their business name on them, and then use them as their own. And
So it
we
sounds like maybe they're getting more organized. Is that, are you seeing that or?
Yeah, I'd say the ones that are serious about it, that steal from year to year, definitely figure out a way to be more organized to help against being caught. But then also, we used to only see hive thefts normally from holding yards, the bees waiting to go into the orchards. And now it's pretty common for the thieves to come in and steal hives right out of the orchards after the beekeepers already put them into the orchards for pollination. So they're just taking an opportunity to steal them in whatever is the easiest way for them to do it.
So who steals bees? I'm sure beekeepers wonder this, the general public, like who would take bees?
It's normally someone that's familiar in the beekeeping industry, whether they have their own beekeeping business or they've worked for a commercial beekeeper in the past. There's not many cases of hive theft where someone isn't a beekeeper or has experience. We have seen a few of those. It generally doesn't work out too good for them. But for the most part, the people stealing hives are beekeepers, in one way or another. I don't like to refer to them as like good beekeepers or legitimate beekeepers, because they would not be stealing hives from someone else, because they know how much money and hard work goes into keeping these bees alive and healthy throughout the year.
And is it usually a lone actor or is it an organized thing with multiple people working together?
Yeah, there's usually more than one person involved. I'd say it's pretty common to have at least two, if not more. In this recent case that we're working right now, or that the Madera County Sheriff's Office is investigating, there's several individuals that were involved.
And are they typically operating their own beekeeping business that they're kind of hiding things in?
So we've seen two large scale groups of individuals over the last 12 years or so that I've been keeping track, where they have created their own beekeeping businesses, and they operate those businesses with everyone else's stolen hives. So back in 2016 and 2017, between those 2 years, we saw approximately 2,700 hives stolen. And it ended up being a couple of Ukrainian gentlemen out of the Sacramento Fresno area responsible for that one. And now we have this new case that's kind of been broken wide open, where
Yeah,
there
tell us about that. What can you say?
beekeepers have been forced to try to use maybe unconventional methods to prevent and deter theft, but also, if a theft occurs, being able to track down their stolen equipment or stolen hives. So there's been a lot of things out there that beekeepers have tried over the years. But honestly, a GPS tracking device of some sort is probably the best bet, because it's the only thing that allows you to track your location of your hives if they move from one place to another. So in this recent case, a beekeeper down in Central California had placed air tags, Apple air tags, in some of his hives. And it just so happened the thieves decided to steal those hives. And law enforcement and the beekeeper were able to track those air tags back to a location, and ultimately discovered hundreds of stolen bee boxes from as far back as 2022 so far. There's been 7 separate thefts of stolen property located and identified at this same property, from thefts that occurred in 2022, 23, and 24 so far. There was over 100 hives that belonged to this beekeeper that were there, that were located and returned. There were some other live hives that were returned to another beekeeper from a theft this year as well. And then a lot of boxes in one state or another, whether they still contained the owner's brands on them, or if the suspects had already altered them and put their own brands on them. So it's turning out to be a pretty good case. We have a couple people identified, but have not been located as of yet.
And have you caught the people that stole them? Or are they still on the loose?
They're still out there on the run. They know that that law enforcement wants to talk to them, and so far they have not been located.
So if anybody has information, they can contact the Butte County Sheriff's Department.
If anyone has information, they can definitely contact me at the Butte County Sheriff's Office or Detective Johnson at the Madera County Sheriff's Office, who's the lead investigator on this case. And I have posted photos and information on the commercial beekeepers page, as well as the California Almond board page, or California almond producers page, I think it is. So the information's on there as well.
Great. So what do you advise beekeepers and growers to do to protect themselves from being a victim of this theft?
I think the single most important thing is for the grower and the beekeeper to have that close personal relationship. That's probably the best thing. They know that they can trust their beekeeper. They know what the beekeeper looks like. They know when the beekeeper is going to be there and when they're not. They know what the beekeeper's equipment looks like, what their flatbeds and forklifts look like. So if they see something that looks out of the ordinary, it might, make them question it and go out and look, or place a phone call to the beekeeper and ask, hey, are you guys here right now? So that's, the first thing. The other thing would be for the beekeepers, just to protect your property as much as you can. Make sure that your equipment is branded like you're supposed to. The law in California requires that your equipment be branded or marked. Put your contact information on the side of your boxes, your business name and phone number, and where the hives are from. And then, use cameras and some sort of GPS device or trackers, if feasible, to place in your hives. It's hard to know exactly what bees the thieves are going to target, but all we can do is try and hopefully get lucky.
Yeah, well, hopefully, it sounds like this case is a big break. It's connected to a lot of events.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Well, we look forward to hearing more about it. Hopefully, we'll have more good news. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the commercial beekeeping audience about this?
Keep fighting the fight and working hard, and if you see anything suspicious or you locate the hives that I put pictures out there about, please make sure and contact local law enforcement, myself, or Detective Johnson at the Madera County Sheriff's Office.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.